Hello guys, today I'm going to show you how you can add data using a web API from a client that is using Jquery AJAX. So we will send the data from the AJAX call and we will save that data using an API. So right in front of you is the save data function that I'm using, and you can see that I have passed those parameters of the values that we want to save using this query string. And the backend code here in the API is this one. So this is the post request that we would be calling the create action method that is going to save our data from the front end in the back end to the database. And here is the database that we would be using. So here is the database. Okay, before going ahead, just a quick view of what steps need to be followed. So adding records through a web API using jQuery AJAX. The first step is we need to create an API either using .NET Core or an MVC. Then we will create another project that will have only the front end, and that uses a get or a post request to fetch the AJAX calls and the API URL. Now moving ahead to the next one. This is the action method for the post request. So that is using three parameters: a student name, age, and an address. And I'm using ADO.NET here. So we have a connection string that's fetched from the app settings.json and is communicating with the configuration to fetch the connection string, and then the insert statement in the command, then executing the command statement. If it's a success, then it will return okay. If not, it's a bad request, and we will hold it in the catch, okay, inside the try catch block. Now this is the backend code. Now going on to the front end, we will have a function which will have our Ajax function, our Ajax call. So this save data function will be used with a button click to save the data, and this is the post method of Ajax, and we are passing it three parameters, which is the student's name and integer, and age is an integer, and address is an address for the student. Okay, for people who are looking at this for the first time, you can follow our previous videos, and you can follow the uh, API videos wherein we have full description. This is in continuation to those, and as we are all used, so I'm not wasting much of time. I'll give a brief idea on how we're saving the data using an Ajax call, and we will end up there. Okay, and next sessions will have an edit and delete in the future videos. All right, guys, I'll give you a brief lookup of the code that we have done here. However, I'm going to put this code in GitHub link, but just a quick recap of how these things are happening. So this is the API project. So you create a new web API project and have a function that's an API controller function. This is the API controller, and a class file which will have the student data that matches the table like this. Okay, so ID, student name, age, and address, and we are using mostly what is that, the SQL commands. So we don't need a data folder here. We just have a model to match those columns, but we don't have a DB context here because we are using all SQL queries. And to show you, this is my connection string in the app settings. This is the connection string, and to show you in the programs, I have yeah, we are using a course because that won't work otherwise, and we have a serializer setting. Yeah, that much, nothing much more. In the NuGets, I would like to show you what NuGets you need. So these are few NuGets, but entity framework core is not used here. So I guess I installed them, but these are of no use. The remaining things you might use. Swashbuckle comes by default. So looking at the API section, I will show you this is an API controller. Make sure it's inheriting from the controller and not the controller base class. And if you do not have these two things on the top, then try to figure out if it's an API controller or it's just a normal controller. Moving ahead to the create, we are passing three parameters to the create function, and here is the connection string and the execute non-query. Connection is open, connection is closed. Okay, try catch. I should have put one more thing. Finally, the close things should go through a finally thing. However, okay, so if any error comes up, it will throw here and it will mark it as a bad request with a message. Now, moving ahead to the front end part, here is the front end, and we already have discussed this front end in our previous videos where we had the index. However, I'm still going to show that to you. So the create will have a bootstrap format, a table, like it will ask for student's name, age, and address, and a save button is there on the click of the save button. So you can see the jQuery, see here the jQuery AJAX function for the click and the save data. So I tried with this data thing, but it didn't work. So I'm using this URL. Okay, guys, make sure that you have this course section in your program.cs file. Otherwise, without course, these things will not work. You will keep getting errors. Controller section has nothing because it's totally an Ajax call. So we only have two methods, index and create student. Currently, we are working on the create student thing, and pretty much everything is all self-explanatory. Let's see that in action. Let's run both the applications. Okay, now both the applications have come up. So this is our API, and this is the front end. So we will go ahead with the add new data. And here I'm trying to add a data to an existing table which has 10 records. So I will add, say, Joanne Kings. Age would be 28. Address would be New York. It has hit our API, and you can see the values have also shown up here. Perfect. Let's run this one. Data has been saved. 11th record is Joanne Kings. If you want to see here, here is Joanne Kings. All right, guys. So that was all for this video. Nothing much more to explain here. I will send the codes on the link on the description. Until we have our next set of videos, stay tuned, stay connected, and happy coding. Thank you.